Okay, hello, this is Renew Education. This is a case study, and I'm going to name this case study Case Impossible. And why it's so impossible and why do I have this hard hat on is because I think that this one needs major reconstruction. We do advanced general dentistry where we're looking at full arch reconstruction, and this one is one of those cases you shouldn't even really start, or you start building the building blocks and hope that those actually come into the picture. So if they do start to evolve and you get out of dreamland about how this is supposed to heal, then you might have a possibility of getting it going in the right direction. And the right direction being you want something in a full arch position that's going to have at least about 4 different areas of support for your full arch thing. So let's look at our treatment assessment here. We are looking at red sinus, red ridge height. We are red on the bone constriction. Maybe there's a little bit of bone quality in there that's decent, so you might get an orange there. But most of this is red, and we don't want to be in a situation where we're going to be stuck in the twilight zone. You never want to promise something, accept payment for something for a patient, and then you cannot deliver. And this is a very difficult case to do that. So let's look at the actual case from this perspective here. We are looking at the sinus where there was once a graft done here, and you can see how much bone is actually there, but the problem here is that that bone may not be fully true. That bone being a graft bone, and you don't know that that bone is fully healed until you go back into that area. So if I scroll through, you can see how the graft is kind of there, but maybe it's not there. That might be granulation tissue. That might be a sign that granulation tissue has just kind of encompassed this graft and has not really matured into native bone. So the only way you know is really you have to go in there and try to place the implant in here. So maybe you would put an implant like in here because that looks pretty solid. But like I said, you gotta go in. The other hard part is you have a lot of detached gingiva here. So your restoration, if you're going to go on this kind of layout, you might be doing a locator here, or you do an overbar, but I certainly would never recommend doing a fixed hybrid case here. It's just too weak, and we haven't even looked at these, but these are all going to be weak. You don't want to do that. So unfortunately, if you're trying to do something for this case, you're trying to get into this, or you've already started a case like this and you're trying to salvage it, you're going to have to go with the lateral sinus lift and try to bring it forward. So I'm still in the upper right. So here it looks like there's still some sort of weird graft material going on there, coming more anterior here. So that might work, I don't know, but this should be a lateral sinus lift filling in here. And one of the tricky spots here happens to be the nasal sinus comes in right away where it has very thin septal bone coming into that spot. So a little bit of miracles have to happen here, but this is a nice wall to do a lateral sinus lift if people are interested in that. This is actually not a bad case to try because you can peel that up pretty quickly and you don't have a lot of room going across the sinus floor. The tricky part here is also the actual surgery, putting the implants in. So that's where we are here, and you're only coming closer in. If this line may not be really where we want the implant, probably more like there. And that's what it looks like here. So now as we close in, you've got very, very little sinus bone, and you've got a little bit more bone here, but you got a lot of the nasal sinus approaching here. So let's look at the upper left side. And for this, let's see. And if we're going to probably have to be something more like that. So these get closer. So that might be an overbar piece or something holding it in. You got very thin septal bone again on the upper left side. You've got not a lot of bone going upward. You don't have a lot of room if you're trying to put an implant in. It's going to have to be a bit angled, probably something more in this direction. And then if you go back into the maxillary sinus, back where you actually really have it, you have very, very thin bone once again, and you are looking to try to get that to heal. This looks a little bit better in the healing. You got a nice little area to do your lateral window, but you are getting further back out here. Becomes a little bit more challenging surgically. So this case really takes it to a new level, that if you are not a skilled surgeon, you are dealing with a very, very difficult, hard kind of case stepwise. If this works, okay, then you can do that. If this works, then you can do that. Like I said, an autogenous graft would probably be the best here. If you only have allograft materials or synthetics, then I guess that might work out okay too. But yeah, this is one of those cases that you got to get your balls on, your head, everything in place. You got to get your hard hat on. You got to get everything, all your ducks in a row for this one. And it's going to be expensive for the patient. So I don't know. Either the patient's just going to have to deal with the upper denture that they've had, and just accept that that's where they're at, or they go for this sequenced approach. This case probably take about 2 years or something to do this one, is my guess, if you take it stage-wise. So anyway, thanks for joining us. We are doing different live streams. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and check us out. Look at our times. Go to the website. Go to our YouTube channel. Check out some of our other case studies, and we'll see you next time. Great. Thanks.